Hey guys, welcome to the second part of the podcast on Candice and Don's behaviour, the Summer Wells series. So here we go. Do you like my universe? Welcome into it. Because you're going to need to be calm and relaxed. This is Open Doors, and I am Chip, your host for podcast tonight. I hope you're all doing well. And let's get going, shall we? So on the last one, we made it very clear that Don was burning stuff from very young age, and we even heard, which I will show you in these podcasts, that he tried to burn a sick cat that ran off on fire screaming. And he likes fire. Listen to this young man and the detective. And maybe Ronnie Lawson might learn a thing or two, and the behaviour panel. Who knows? Maybe Chris can teach them, hey?
Just fire. Set fire.
To what?
Pit. In the pit. Fire.
Oh, a fire pit. Okay, well, I mean, the voice told you to burn something, you built a fire in a fire pit.
Now I will do a disclaimer that I'm using this for educational purposes, and I am crediting all this to JCS, criminal psychology, okay? Which all these videos that I'm playing will be from this person. I have learnt a lot, and I've watched Don and learnt a lot, and I have put together a combination, and they're identical.
What's destructive about that? That's what fire pits are made for. What else did the voice tell you to do that's...
Kill animals.
Okay, have you ever killed animals?
Yes.
What kind of animals?
Birds.
Birds?
Again, Don's traits. He uses a BB gun, right? Listen to this chap. Listen to this boy, what he says.
Wild birds or people's
Birds.
pets? How do you kill them?
Birds.
How do you kill them?
Wait for them. Kill them.
Oh, can't catch them, so how are you waiting for them?
Out in the grass. Wait for a bird to come up.
There's no way, man. I'm a bird lover. There's no way. You can't catch a bird, Holmes.
No, I mean like...
With a pelican? Oh, okay. Where's your pelican?
It broke.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying to you guys? These criminals know what to say and do.
Alright, so the voices tell you to hurt animals and start fires in the fire pit. When was the last time you heard the voice?
Yesterday.
And what time was it yesterday?
It was at night.
Now, the reason why he asked that, and the reason why it's being recorded, is because in the background there'll be a psychiatrist sitting there, and everyone knows if they've had a friend or someone or been in a unit where there's people that's got schizophrenia and hear voices, or any of the phrenias, that it happens every moment of every second of every day. And the only time it quietens down but not stops is when medication's applied. But is this the route that Don is going to take, or Candice? I took too much drugs, I can't remember. Keep watching, guys. If you haven't seen part 1, go and see part 1 first. I recommend it. Please like, share and subscribe. And here we go to Open Doors. Don and Candice Wells' behaviour.
And where are we at?
Work.
You're at work, so you're at Dollar Tree. And what's the voice telling you?
Hurt people.
To hurt people. Hurt people at Dollar Tree? Or hurt people?
Hurt people in general.
Okay. Doesn't say specifically who? Alright. Can you tell how old the voice is?
My age.
Okay. Do you have a good voice too, or just a bad voice? Is there a voice inside you that says, do good things?
The detective will now start getting confrontational, and the subject's behavior will shift once more in response. You will see him get defensive as he attempts to protect his narrative, and his responses will become much faster. He will even cut the detective off multiple times. Keep in
mind that Don did this on the control panel, right?
mind that he was barely saying anything at the start of this interrogation.
No?
So it's bad.
Can't be. You held down a job for 2 years. If you were doing things bad, you wouldn't be able to hold the job down for 2 years, right? Okay. I mean, look. Everybody has.
It's me and then my bad side.
I understand. Everybody's got a quote good and bad side. There's people.
No, it's a voice. The voice is in here, and that's me, just regular me, just trying to be a good person.
Okay.
Set aside his contradicting behavior for a moment and focus solely on his storyline. In his ideal scenario, we are to believe that he was battling these supposed voices and, in his own words, trying to be a good person. Yet he was unable to reveal or seek help for this internal struggle until the very moment of his arrest. It was quite literally the second he was confronted with his comeuppance that his supposed demons came to light. Now that he is in custody, with the atrocities already committed, he is somehow able to maintain control over the force that was previously keeping him silent. But a deleted video that would later be extracted from his phone would tell a very different story.
Now, is this why the police deleted the video? Because they actually didn't delete it. They actually removed it because it had so much evidence. Could have Candice, who does this quite a lot, does she not? Sit there acting like a gangster, talking on TikTok and stuff. What if Donald Candice's phone actually has something in it?
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I can get done. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am.
There are no signs of perceptual disturbances. There is no anguish, doubt, hesitation, or uncertainty when announcing his intentions. By his own narrative, he claims to have continuously fought against the evil intentions of the voice. Yet from a visual standpoint, there is no conflict in this video whatsoever.
It's me and then my bad side.
I understand. Everybody's got a quote good and bad side. There's people.
No, it's a voice. The voice is in here, and that's me, just trying to be a good person.
Okay. But obviously, again, when you say it's a voice, it's you. It's all you. The voice is you as well.
Yeah.
The voice didn't force you to do anything, right?
No, the voice did. It's two voices.
Uh-huh.
There's one half that's the good and then the bad.
Yeah.
His rapidly interchanging behavior has now gone from catatonic to manic to hallucinatory to now highly attentive and cautious.
Okay, well, the voice tells me to go to lunch.
Well, when you look at Don in the interview, in the behaviour panel, you will see exactly the same traits. In every interview Don has done, or Candice, you will see these traits.
Lunch and not pay for my meal, but I pay for my meal because I know that's the right thing to do, right? Okay, let's talk about it. Did the voice didn't tell you to take Uber, right?
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yes.
The voice said take Uber. Did the
voice is in me.
You're the voice.
No, in here.
Okay, it's in your head.
Yes.
What is it? A male voice or a female voice?
Male.
Male.
The subject was beginning to panic, the time being, and switches the discussion back to more trivial matters. It seems that he wants to consult with the investigators outside before maximizing the pressure, and he reestablishes a certain level of trust before leaving the room.
Let me go. I'm going to go back and see what everybody's doing as far as what they need me to do.
You're not a psychologist or anything?
No, I'm not. I'm a 59-year-old man who's raised 3 children, so I guess that makes me somewhat of a psychologist.
Think you can give me a psychologist here?
I can certainly ask.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a psychologist before?
No.
Okay.
The subject scratches his arm for another 2 minutes. He then switches to a hallucinatory state and appears to be seeing things in the room.
All right. Got some stuff here.
The detective will once more dismiss the act by pretending to not see it. He will then pose a question to the subject, and the charade will cease immediately.
Do with the water. Well, you put it back over here. You definitely don't want the water, huh?
It's very interesting to observe his facial expressions at the exact moments he abandons fake behavior. These are the very brief junctures in which his true self appears to surface.
So this is the same with Don. If you look at the control panel, what I might do is do another video of this video and the behavior panel side by side. So this is how you can tell Don is doing what he does. Okay?
Surface. It's easy to get distracted by the present situation as he sits there in a hospital gown chained to the floor, essentially helpless to the cunning devices being used against him. But in moments like this, we are reminded of what we're actually dealing with. A very short time ago, he was not helpless at all. He was the one preying on the helpless, offering them none of the sympathy nor mercy of which he is now trying to garner for himself.
All right, this school or this psychologist you want to talk to. Obviously, I would have to tell him what you want to talk to him about. So, what exactly what do you want me to ask him, or why do you want to talk to a psychologist?
Find out what's wrong with me.
Well, what do you think's wrong with you?
I don't know.
The detective in this next segment will attain further information about the supposed voices, only he will no longer have to tread carefully in order to maintain a friendly connection. He will still secure useful information, but also get confrontational as and when he pleases. The risk of frightening the suspect to the point where it stops the interrogation is no longer a concern.
When you hear the voices, are the voices like outside your head or inside your head when you hear them?
Inside.
Okay, so it's not like you don't hear a voice from that corner talking to you. It's inside your head. And is it always the same voice, or is it only one voice?
One voice, yeah.
And you said it's a man's voice? Yeah.
Yes.
Does it sound like anybody you've ever met? Anybody you ever seen on TV? Can you tell, like, by an accent? Is it what kind of, is it an old man, young man, white man,
Young
black?
man.
Young man? About the same age as you think? But it's only one voice you ever hear, right?
Yes.
Do you hear the voice when you're in bed at night sleeping?
Yes.
Do you ever see anything with the voice? Like like, you know, some people say, oh, I see a person sitting in the corner. You don't see anybody sitting over there, do you? It's just me and you, right? All right. Do you always obey what the voice tells you to do?
I try not to.
Okay. Well, how many, on any given week, how many times do you think you hear the voices? All the time?
Once every day.
A true schizophrenic will not be able to tell you how many times they hear voices because it's constant. It comes and goes, but it is constant.
Once every day? Morning, afternoon time?
Usually in the afternoon.
About what time?
11 to 12.
Why do you think it's those hours?
I don't know.
It's always around lunchtime? Now, you talked about demons, and then you talk about
Yeah,
the
that's the
voice.
demon. The voice is the demon.
The voice is the demon. So there's not
The
two.
person, whoever it is,
Does it have a name?
no name.
Does it ever say, hey, my name's Nick? Does it use your name or use somebody else's name? Just a voice with no name.
Just a voice with no name telling me what to do.
Did the voice tell you to buy that AR-15?
Yes.
Did it tell you, hey, buy that gun, it looks cool? Did the AR-15 get picked out because it was similar to the gun that an Army Ranger would carry?
No, it was because of the voice.
What do you think if you didn't buy it, if you said, hey, I ain't buying these guns, it's too expensive, what do you think the voice would have done to you? Did you stop talking to you?
No, tell me to hurt myself.
How would you hurt yourself?
Cut.
You're a cutter?
No, cut.
When was the last time you cut yourself?
Earlier,
Earlier when?
when I was fishing.
Earlier today or
Earlier today.
Where were you fishing at today?
At a lake.
Okay. Before the before the school shooting?
Yes.
What did you cut yourself with?
Knife.
Those little scratches on your arms? Let me look at them. Come on, man. I get worse scratches weeding my flower bed than that. You weren't trying to hurt yourself.
Yes, it wasn't sharp enough.
Wasn't sharp enough?
No.
How many knives do you have?
4, 5
How long have you been cutting yourself?
years.
Years? You ever cut yourself where you had to go to the hospital to get stitches? When you cut yourself, it's because the voice just told you to cut yourself. And if you didn't talk or you didn't listen to the voice, then you were going to be alone because your voice was your only friend. That's kind of what you're saying. Even though you have a biological brother. Since me and you have been talking, have you heard the voices? What's it said?
Saying to cut yourself.
For you to cut yourself. Does the voice like me?
Huh?
Does the voice like me?
Doesn't trust you.
Why doesn't he trust me? I'm pretty relaxed, ain't I?
I'm trying to figure that out too.
Well, what doesn't he like about me? I mean, I'm kind of grinning because I want to know what the voice's problem is with me. What doesn't he like about me? I treated you fairly. I've given you water. I talked nice to you. You know.
You're too nice.
I'm too nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
How many times has the voice talked to you while we've been in the room here together?
a lot.
Has the voice said jump out of the chair and do anything bad to that policeman?
Saying kill yourself now.
I don't really believe there is a voice, to be honest with
There's
you.
a voice.
No, I don't think there is.
I'm telling you the truth.
No. I mean, I feel you probably want to kill yourself because of what happened, but...
No, the voice is telling me to kill myself.
Okay, but the voice is telling you that the AR-15s is... You like guns, man. You wanted to be a ranger. You like guns. It's all right. There's cops like that. There's cops who got 50 million guns. You didn't buy guns because the voice said, hey, today I like Mossbergs, tomorrow I like AR-15s. You like guns.
Can you call the psychologist?
I've already got the questions from some of the psychologists. Some of the questions I asked you were
Is
from...
it?
Yeah.
I see.
That's the ones I asked you. You already...
No.
The questions were obviously from the investigation team and not a psychologist, but the suspect doesn't know this, and it's fascinating to observe his reaction when he sees the questions are not sympathetic in nature. He perhaps thought a psychotherapist would be asking him about his feelings and affording him some type of reassurance after he committed mass murder, and he becomes very unsettled once he realizes the procedure won't be quite as sympathetic.
Voices. Are the inside or outside of your head? What do the voices say? These are all questions I asked you. How many voices? You said one. Whose voice do you think it was? You didn't know.
What the is wrong with me?
I don't know. I don't understand why you can't admit you like guns. You want to talk to a psychologist. Why didn't you talk to a psychologist when the voices started?
The voice is telling me not to, and I listen.
The voice was telling you not to talk to a psychologist?
Yeah, but myself, I wanted to.
You ever go to church?
I wanted to.
No, I'm saying ever in your life.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
Believe in God.
What do you believe in?
I feel like there's something.
Okay. But if you believe in demons, do you believe in angels? Angels is the good Demons are the bad. When you say the word demon, you think it's an evil spirit? Or what do you think it is?
A voice.
The subject had earphones in during the mass shooting. The topic now lands on the music he was listening to.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we don't like the same music. What kind of music we listen to? Name the group.
Mark. What was it? Mark Green.
You have to help me. Mark what?
Mark something.
What was the song though?
Sad.
That's the name of the song? Sad?
No, Salad Days.
Salad Days? Hold on a second.
What else?
Oh, you listen to more than one song? What other song you listen to?
Just a lot of sad songs.
Alright. Did you pick the music yourself? Or did the demon pick the music?
Demon and
See, now, he's thinking he's playing the game with the cop, and this is like watching Don and Chris. This one being Don, this one being Chris. So this cop now knows everything, and they've said to him, take him out, finish him. No, we're not interested. He's done it. We don't need to know much. Let's just make sure he's safe enough, and then let's get rid of him. Right? So in the background, they're doing their bits, but he's still wanting to show this lad that it doesn't matter. You're not mentally ill. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just sick in the head, and you need to go to prison for killing. Just like Don, he wants to be religious. Just like Don, he believes the demons and whatnot is with him. Just like Don. Tell me what part of this isn't Don.
then myself partially.
Okay, which ones did you pick?
The sad ones.
Which ones did he pick?
The evil ones.
The evil ones. Give me an evil one compared to a sad one. You already gave me a sad one. What's an evil one?
Panzermensch.
What?
Panzermensch.
Panzermensch. What does that say?
I don't know.
I mean, there's no lyrics to it?
Oh, no. Oh, well, there is lyrics, but I don't know what it means.
But is it in English?
No.
What language is it in?
German.
German? Do you speak German?
No.
Then how do you know what the lyrics mean?
I don't.
So they could be happy, right?
I don't know if they're happy or not.
Well, again, you
Yeah,
don't because you
demon-
can't speak it.
The demon showed that I didn't choose
But you have one. How long do you think you had them on your playlist?
for a long time.
Okay, so you listen to them a lot of times? So you had a playlist of music that the demon helped you pick out, but you picked out some of them. I'm just having a tough time understanding this demon thing.
I know.
Well, the Xanax you were talking to me about earlier, where'd you get the Xanax? On the street or?
On the streets.
So you used to buy that? Other than Xanax and marijuana, what other drugs you never tried? Flakka? PCP? Coke?
See, again, just like Don. Oh, I don't take much. I don't take the hard stuff. I only drink a little bit. Tries to belittle the strength of actually what they're taking.
Cocaine? Heroin?
No.
Okay, Xanax, how many of those did you take when you used to take them?
5.
Okay, 5. What side bar? How big? What color was it?
Half, sometimes full.
Okay, what color? They all
White.
White. All right, but that was off the street. Did they help you sleep?
Made me drowsy.
Okay. Did it make the demon go away?
Yeah.
When was the last time you think you did Xanax?
See, so now he's going to try and score some Xanax so they can give it to him. Or if they think that he's got potential to be addicted to a drug, they have to then treat him in a special medical centre first before being able to leave him overnight in a cell on his own in case he starts to shake and stuff like that, which is what Don and Candice will have to do.
A long time.
So if the Xanax helps you get the demons away,
Marijuana does it better.
marijuana does better. When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
Last week.
Last week? If you're making $1,200 a week, why didn't you smoke marijuana every day to get rid of the demon?
Illegal.
It's illegal?
Yeah.
It's illegal. It was illegal whether you do it once a week or once every 5 minutes. So why didn't you choose to get rid of the demon by doing it?
Now, if you remember, when Chris turned around to Candice and said to Candice, well, why didn't your mum and you pick the flowers from here? No, it's illegal. I said, I don't want to get involved in that. But she's taking drugs and alcohol and beating her children up. But she won't steal flowers from a national park.
Anytime you heard the demon, just light up a blunt. I mean, you had the money, man.
Because I knew it was illegal and I didn't want to do wrong. But again, it's wrong.
Okay. So the demon wanted you to do wrong, but then your good side didn't want to do wrong by smoking marijuana?
Even though it made it go away.
Even though it made him go away. Well, I don't know why you didn't tell the doctor then you had anxiety problems and marijuana and Xanax cured your anxiety and made the demons go away. It seemed like an easy fix, man. If that's true. You sure you didn't like the demon voice? You sure?
I'm sure.
Then why didn't you go to a doctor and get rid of it?
I'm just very confused.
Why, well, forget that for a second. Let me ask you another crazy question. Was the demon there that night? Ian beat you up on campus?
Huh?
Was the demon there that day when Ian beat you up on campus?
Yes. Told me to go up to him.
Okay, so
See, he's not making any sense now because it's not going smoothly, but this is done. He tells us one thing, tells someone else another, and then another and another. The trouble is, because he has no one else to bounce off, he's saying it to the same person, thinking and hoping that this person, because being older and being a cop, he might not remember everything he said like 2 hours ago.
So who did Ian beat up? You or the demon?
Me.
Okay, so why didn't the demon do something to stop it?
What's in it?
Huh?
Why didn't
I don't know. That's a good question. Because the demons tell you to do all these bad things. Why couldn't the demon get you mad enough to get the best of Ian? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know either. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. But why? Why?
I don't know. The demon's this
I don't know why.
all-powerful thing that tells you to do bad things and you're afraid of it. Why did the demon just take over right then when Ian was getting the best of you and get the best of Ian? Well, why did the demon not do that? Why do you think?
Trying to figure it out.
I don't know. I can't figure it out either because I don't think the demon exists.
I think.
I don't think it exists.
No, like.
I think that them. Go ahead, bud.
Am I able to like think to myself about it?
Yeah, sure.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, you can think all you want. I'm just.
No, I'm just thinking about the demon.
Alright. Well, you want me, I'll leave you to think for a while and I'll come back and talk to you. I personally, I think you're using the demon as an excuse.
I'm not. I promise.
You could have stopped the demon by getting a prescription for marijuana. You could have stopped the demon by getting a prescription for Xanax. You could have stopped the demon by illegally doing marijuana, which you were doing anyway. You could have stopped the demon by doing Xanax illegally, which you were doing anyway. You could have stopped the demon anytime you want. You didn't want to stop the demon.
The subject seems to be coming to the realization that he's not going to be treated as a victim. As he begins to meet this reality, you will notice him exhibit signs of fear. You will then see him attempt to escape the confrontation by feigning a state of psychosis once more. The detective...
Now, when you listen, put Don in this kid's shoes. So instead of seeing this kid here, just put Don there. Okay?
Will recognize this, but this time will not afford reassurance. He will instead apply further condemnation, and a visibly frightening realization will engulf the suspect from that point forward. It's essentially the very beginning of retribution. The detective introduces him to the rest of his life at this moment.
No, that sounds real.
You didn't. You could have. I've given you 4 ways you could have stopped the demon, man. Okay, now you're just acting like that because.
No.
Okay, well, relax. You're just acting like that because I'm making sense. Calm down. I'm making sense, and you don't like when it makes sense.
No.
Because it doesn't fit into the story you're telling right now.
I'm telling you the story. It's true.
Well, why are you looking at your arm now?
I'm trying to understand why.
Well, why didn't you want to stop the demon?
I don't know.
Because I think you like the demon.
No, I don't.
Why didn't you stop it then?
I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon.
Well, that's if the demon even exists.
Can I get an attorney or something?
You want what? An attorney?
Yeah.
Did the demon or the voices tell you to get an attorney? Okay. All right. Will you tell the voice that don't hit yourself in the head because the attorney the demon just requested? I will stop talking to you.
I'm scared.
You're scared of what?
Scared.
What?
Why wouldn't he protect me, man?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't he protect me?
All right. Well, again, your demon wants an attorney. Does the demon know an attorney? Any name in particular? Okay. All right. Well, just relax. You're done talking to me. And once again, I grabbed the wrong key. Do me a favor. Stay seated. Put your hands, kind of sit forward in your chair. I'm going to put handcuffs behind you. Since you keep talking about hurting yourself. Hold on. Put your hand behind your back. No, not behind the chair. Behind your back. I don't want to make you that uncomfortable.
Well, why don't you want me to hurt myself?
Because what did the demon say about me? I'm a nice guy.
Candice much? See the acting, guys. This is a 19-year-old. Imagine what a 60-year-old and a 30-odd-year-old woman, how much they've got. If he can be this convincing and this, he believes his own lies and he's only 19 and his brain's not fully developed till it's 21. Imagine Don and Candice's. Do you see that yawn? He's being exhausted because he's hungry, he's thirsty, and now he's tired. He's had a long day, and he's still childlike in his mind because his mind's still not developed to a full adult till he's 21.
Nicholas.
But this was the same age that Don was arrested, 19, was he not?
Nicholas Cruz was taken to the Broward County Jail, where he remains in isolation to this day. His trial date is yet to be scheduled.
The 20-year-old has been held without bond since last year's mass shooting that left 17 people dead. His attorney said he would plead guilty in exchange for a life sentence, but prosecutors rejected that offer and are seeking the death penalty.
Okay, so this next case, again from JCS, criminal psychologist. This next case is a bit like Candice. I have 2 cases of each to show you. Now, Don was 19 years old when he was in and out of prison. So he would have learnt this technique. And so, Candice would have learnt this from the fairground on how to escape and get away with by manipulating people. People say to me, you're smart, Chip, you're clever, Chip. I'm not. I just observe and look. It takes me longer, and people haven't got time to do that. But I've learnt to make time. Okay, my friends, so let's get on with this second girl. And remember, I'm doing a young Candice, a young Don, and then an older Don and an older Candice. And be careful, guys, because I'm telling you something now, that they're going to try and use mental health to get out of this. And we need full justice for Summer. So I need to do this to show people I'm not smart. The person, JCS, who made this is smart. The police officers who knew these people, what they were doing, and caught them out, are smart. That's why I'm worried about Lawson and his group. That's why I'm hoping the TBI and the FBI is as smart as they say they are. Because if they're not, Chris McDonough is the only smart one out of the police force, and he's out. He's retired. And he knew straight away, just like us. Don and Candice, this is a game for them. They don't care about their child to be found and brought home safe, or brought home so she can move on. They can't. They've got her stuck, and they're happy to have that control. And this is why we're going to stop it. We can't let them have that control over the baby.
What makes the case of Jennifer Pan unique among others in the true crime genre is the overabundance of raw footage freely available in the public domain.
So because this is in the public domain, anyone can watch it. However, I chose JCS, Criminal Psychology, because I think I understand his videos better than anyone else's. And on top of that, I like the way he pretty much would have done the same combo that I did. So I've watched a lot of videos and I just couldn't get it. It wasn't until this one that it triggered my memory and brain to say, aha, Don and Candice. So I get it, the hair colour's not the same and stuff, but put aside their looks and put in their behaviour only, their sort of souls, yeah?
There is over 11 hours of material that not only recounts her entire life.
Just because I'm starting a new video on this one, although I've done the disclaimer at the front, I'm still going to make another disclaimer. I'm going to say that I'm doing this for educational purposes to stop anyone being harmed by Don and Candice's position, the ways. These are educational to educate people in the way of how people like Don and Candice work. Also, I do credit all these videos to JCS, Criminal Psychology.
Life in meticulous detail, but gives us considerable insight into her psychopathological state. Jennifer herself will narrate her own story in this video, which is the reason the following lead-up segment will be condensed, as a brief outline is all that is needed before delving into the extraordinary mind of this individual. Jennifer was born in Markham, Ontario, where she was raised with her older brother in a middle-class household. Her parents, Beek and Han, were originally from Vietnam, and their method of parenting was strict, very strict.
Now remember, Don's method of parenting was the mother done what she wanted and let Don do what he wanted. He was spoiled. And his father let him get away with anything he wanted and protected him and took the blame for him and made sure that the girls would suffer and Don didn't. And that's why now the father is older, that he's trying to protect the girls because he's scared. He now knows that he protected not only a parasite, but a dangerous one.
Might even class as authoritarian. Success and achievement from their children were seen as outright obligations, whether it be in academics or extracurricular activity. And some might argue these expectations took precedence over the well-being of the children themselves. Jennifer initially took the imposed pressure in her stride and put everything she had into figure skating. She had exceptional talent, and at one point was expected to compete in the Winter Olympics, but she suffered a serious knee injury at the age of 14 and was told she could no longer compete. Her dreams were cut short, but of more concern was that her parents' expectations now had to be met through the more traditional route of education. And the issue was that Jennifer wasn't anywhere near as academically gifted as she was athletic. She was averaging a C- when her parents wanted straight A's. So rather than communicate with them, she decided to meet their expectations under false pretenses and began faking her test results. This led to her faking her end-of-year report cards, which eventually led to her faking a high school diploma, and then a university acceptance letter to study pharmacology.
So she was pretty much turning into a failure. A teenager. Some teenagers want to make something of themselves. Others struggle to make something of themselves. Others rebel against the parents because they feel they know nothing about this generation and their generation had it easier. And the parents think that that generation had it harder than their generation.
In the abstract world of her parents, Jennifer was on her way to a noble and well-paid career in medical health care, when in reality, she was a high school dropout living with her drug dealer boyfriend, whom she had been dating in secret for almost 8 years.
Now remember, Candice and Candice's story, her backstory.
She was eventually found out in 2010 when her parents discovered she had been living a double life, and was then given an ultimatum. At 24 years old, she had to choose between one of two options. Option one was that she had to live at home under a strict regime, cease all contact with her boyfriend, and only leave the house to go back to school and pursue an education. Option two was that she could do whatever she wanted, but she would then be disowned from her family. She could never return home, and all financial support would cease immediately.
See what happens? It doesn't matter whether it's culture or what. People with money have power, people without suffer. And if we don't find a balance between being a parent, being a friend, and guiding our children, and being a good child and doing the best they can, if there's no balance in the family, then it's chaos. I have to get control somehow. The fear of being out of control is one of the biggest things that damages children and adults and parents. The fear of losing that control, losing that dream you had for your children losing that control of being the apple of the daddy or mummy's eye when they were younger. No more smiles, no more looks.
Immediately. Jennifer evidently decided neither option would suffice, so she created option number 3. She had her boyfriend arrange a mock home invasion, where 3 of his acquaintances would enter the Pan household and stage a robbery gone wrong. The 2 instructions.
Now, be very mindful that there's 2 theories out there that make more sense. This is one of the theories for Candice. That they wanted to do a mock kidnapping. Right? So the police will believe it's real. The CPS believes it's real. The boys get taken off them. They then move. Because of all the media. That's why Don went onto the media and made himself known publicly, but didn't want to go into the news because he didn't want people to come looking. He didn't want help. Wouldn't mind someone building his house so he could sell it and sell the land for more money and then move away. And then they go pick up Summer and boom. But the trouble was the people they mixed with wasn't exactly trustworthy and wasn't exactly Summer was safe with. Right? So this is one of the theories why I chose this specific lady.
Were to first ransack the home and then murder the parents. The planned date was Monday the 8th of November, with the scheduled time being roughly 11 p.m. Jennifer would unlock the front door, and 3 figures were caught on a neighbor's surveillance camera entering the home at 11:05. They were then seen running out just under 18 minutes later. It was at that exact time 911 received a call from the same household.
So why is it they release the dispatch, but yet they won't Don and Candace's? Because both of them did phone. So why didn't they? Because listen to this dispatch, how it got her. After everything she tried to do, it was actually what they heard on this that sealed her fate. Is this why the police, the FBI, won't release it?
Beek Pan was shot twice, once in the neck and once in the head. She was killed immediately. The father, Han, was also shot twice, once in the shoulder and once in the face. He astonishingly survived and was put into an induced coma once he arrived at the hospital. Jennifer was taken to the same hospital as a precaution, but was soon cleared of injury. She sat by her father's bedside for roughly 3 hours before she was taken to the Markham police station to give a statement as a witness.
Now watch this. The police officer goes in and realises that she actually responds better to empathy than she does to aggression or attack, just like Candace. Me, myself and I, right, Candace? Wells, Bly.
I want to go through a form with you. It may seem kind of, why you're doing this, but this is it's like you're swearing to tell the truth about what you're going to talk to me about, and it's also going to explain to you the penalties for not telling the truth. I don't expect you to help me, but for a homicide investigation, anyone who's very close to the investigation, we do this with. Okay, so this isn't suspecting that you're not going to tell the truth. This is more of a feature that you understand the importance of telling the complete truth.
Jennifer is not a suspect at this moment. She is only giving a voluntary statement under oath. She has not read her right to silence, but instead informed of her rights as a witness. She is basically told that fabricating evidence with the intent to mislead is an offense. After...
Right. So you heard that very clearly, right? So they had to stick to Candace's story, even if it sounded stupid. It was too late. She already gave her statement. Therefore, if Don didn't, or Candace's mum didn't, Grandma, then they could arrest Candace for that. So when people say, well, they hardly changed their story, they couldn't change their story. Because if Don deviated from Candace's story in any way, shape or form, or Grandma did, to the police, then Candace could be arrested. This is why they can't change their story. This is what's getting them down, frustrating them. Because they have to say the same thing over and over. And what's the first sign of madness, guys? doing something over and over and not succeeding.
Reading the notification off paper, the detective gives Jennifer a more human explanation of the instruction.
What I've just explained to you is you're here voluntarily to help us, that you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to, but the importance of talking to us, and if you're talking to us, the importance of telling the truth. And if you don't tell the truth, there's criminal consequences for not telling the truth. That's all that stuff had to deal with. Okay?
The investigator then leaves to get the Commissioner of Oaths, which is for the purpose of swearing in the witness, but he first brings in a box of Kleenex. This is universally recognized as getting startled, yet the official term in neurophysiology is the startle reflex via auditory stimulus. Hyperarousal from a traumatic event can often exaggerate this response in a manner similar to how Jennifer reacted to the sound of the door.
Hello, my name is Andrew Spiro. I'm a Commissioner of Oaths with York Regional Police. I'm here so you can give a truthful statement either by solemn affirmation or swearing on the Bible.
Now, the reason why he couldn't do it is the same as the UK. In the UK, plainclothes police officers cannot put a citizens under arrest. The only ones who can are uniform. So if you didn't know that, then you do now. Because this is an educational recording. This is a podcast for educational purposes. And this is what you see. That no detective in plain clothes has the right to a common arrest, is what it's called. Reading you your rights. Only a uniformed police officer can do that.
Which do you prefer?
Swearing on the Bible.
Okay, just put your hand on the Bible. Do you...
Now, you know why she chose the Bible, right? Because if she wouldn't have chose the Bible, they would have said, aha, so you're not religious. So if you killed someone, you wouldn't be frightened to go to you know where. So, you could do it. So she chose the tactical move right there and then. I chose the Bible, therefore I believe, therefore I'm scared to go to the other place. I'm scared to be bad, so therefore I didn't do it. Which is that what not Don Candice are doing. I only hang around with good people, with Christians that go to church. I don't hang around with them people.
Jennifer Pan, swear that the evidence you shall give on this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Once Jennifer is sworn in, the lead investigator returns to collect the statement.
Now, I want you to sort of take yourself back to earlier on today, yesterday, meaning the 8th of November, and tell me about your day. Okay, start at any point in time, wherever you feel comfortable, and then we're gonna move forward. Okay.
Are you one of 9 million EasyJet customers?
Yesterday, probably around 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30. My mother, she woke me up and she told me that she was going to visit my grandfather.
Throughout the day, Jennifer explains that she practiced piano, studied piano history, talked on the phone with her friends, and had dinner with her parents. Her mother left for line dancing at 8 p.m. and returned home at about 9:30, at which time Jennifer was alone in her room watching TV, ready to go to sleep.
And then suddenly I just heard my mom calling for my dad to come down. And that's when I lowered the volume on my TV, and I could hear the voices weren't any voices I was very familiar with. And so I was scared and I couldn't move. I just sat in my room for a while. And then I thought I heard them all leave the top floor, and I peered out of my bedroom door. And a guy was there, and he came at me and had string in his hands and tied my arms back and said, "I have a gun behind your back. Do what I say. If you do what I say, then no one will get hurt. Where is the money? Show me where your money is." My mom kept trying to get up, and they kept telling her, "Sit down." And so I didn't want her to get hurt, so I told her, Mom, sit down. They were trying to find her wallet, but her English isn't good, so she kept saying purse. They kept pushing her down onto the chair.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time. All this is very important, so take your time.
Jennifer's nonverbal communication up to this point has made sense, and the reflection of her mother's last moments seems to push her over the edge. It could be assumed the detective still considers Jennifer a victim at this moment, but in the next moment, he will start becoming suspicious.
They kept all the lights off on the main floor. The only time there was light was when they opened the fridge door to see if they could find where my mom's purse was.
Take yourself back to a moment in your life when you have been overwhelmingly upset about something, and at the same time were trying to explain to someone why you were upset. You wouldn't quietly and reservedly convey the events. You would likely blurt them out in a forceful and disordered manner. Your sole focus would be on processing your thoughts and conveying them into speech. The emotional turbulence of severe hysteria and grief makes it very difficult to convey thought into actual dialogue, and the simple wording of a sentence becomes very challenging. Jennifer seems to be more concentrated on how she's being perceived, yet
Which is Candace all over, right? On the first interview, right? There should have been a trigger warning when she was able to say word for word what they did, but yet couldn't give a time scale. That was my trigger warning too. Watching this is what triggered what Candace did. Please comment down below, like, share and subscribe. Like I said, this is for educational purposes, and this is to educate and also show people on how I come to my conclusions with how Don and Candace behaves.
finds her words easily and executes her sentences perfectly.
One of the gentlemen asked my father if he had money in his wallet and where his wallet was. So they took me, because I was next to the stairwell, they took me up the stairs to show them where my father's wallet was, but I didn't know. They had turned the room upside down. I didn't know where his pants were at that time.
The intruders retrieve $1,100 from the master bedroom and then tie Jennifer to the upstairs banister.
Next thing I know, I think I heard my parents going down the stairs, and my mom was asking them for me to come with them. They wouldn't let me come with them. And after they said, the last things I heard them say was, "You lied to us. You lied to us." And then I heard 2 pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her. Then a couple more pops.
Take your time. Take your time.
Now, did you see this time the detective didn't touch her because all the alarm bells went off, and he didn't want to proceed for her to say, "Oh, he sexually assaulted me." So then he now just passes her the actual tissues rather than comforting her, because he knows she's lying. So therefore he's in danger of doing anything empathetic to her could actually put him into a place or a bad spot, if you like.
And I think I heard my mom say or moan or something, and then they did one more before they left, and then one of...
Look, guys, no tears. Can you see? No tears. Dry tears, they're called.
The guy said, "We have to go now. It's been too long." And then they ran out the door. And I think once they were out the door, I heard my dad go up the stairs, and at that point,
Jennifer has clearly gotten her story straight beforehand, yet in the next moment appears to realize how unusual it is that she was able to make a phone call when her hands were tied behind her back to a banister. She hesitates, stutters, and even looks to the detective for approval.
Now, isn't that what Candice did in her first interview? She looked, she stuttered, and she went, no one would hurt her. Looked straight at the camera and went, when Am was around.
Twice before she quickly moves on.
I had my phone on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So I had my phone on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So when I thought that they had heard them all leave and my dad ran up the stairs, I whipped up the phone and I called 911. But I still hadn't heard anything from my mom, and all I could hear was my dad running on the street, just moaning and making sounds.
The detective then breaks the event down into components and has Jennifer go through each moment in more detail. The first of which is the appearance of the intruders. Jennifer now describes the one who appeared to be in charge.
The only thing I can remember was he had dreadlocks.
He had dreadlocks. So can you describe his race to me?
He was black.
Was his head covered? Was his face covered? Do you remember anything about that?
Just that his dreadlocks were kind of flopping all over the place. I couldn't really see his face, and they kept the lights dark as much as possible.
Did he have a gun?
Yes.
Did you see the gun?
I only saw the top part of the gun.
What did it look like?
It was black.
Yeah. Do you know where the other guys involved in this are?
I know one stayed with my parents downstairs.
Okay.
The other one, I'm not, at that point in time, I was more focused on him, he was seeing me and he was coming after me.
So you're saying there's 3 for sure?
Yes.
That's all, you saw a total of 3 at one time, you saw 3 people together?
Yes, when I went downstairs, I
Okay.
saw 3 shadows.
She details the appearances of the other 2 assailants, whom she asserts were also black males. The detective then brings her back to the one in charge.
Now the first guy who spoke to you, did he have any accent? Was
None
it
that
clear?
I could make out.
Was it clear English?
English.
Unbroken?
Unbroken.
No accent?
From the terms he used, I didn't get to pick up an accent, no. He used
So-
short phrases.
He sounded Canadian.
I would say, yes, he was born here.
He was born here.
She asserts that the second intruder didn't speak, while the third had a Caribbean accent. She then goes on to say she was taken downstairs for a brief moment and saw her parents under guard in the living room. Her father was asked where his wallet was, and he told them it was in the master bedroom. Jennifer was then taken back upstairs alone with 2 of the assailants to help them find it. They don't find the wallet, but instead retrieve a pile of cash from inside the nightstand. Jennifer was then tied to the upstairs banister and left alone as the intruders went back down.
And the next thing I can hear are them telling my parents to move to the basement.
Okay.
And I'm asking them.
Do you see how she's working it, guys? The lies. So this is where the deceit comes in, okay?
One. Okay. When your father exits, you hear the door open because you hear your dog.
Outside noises,
Okay.
like the wind coming in, and I just hear my dad, "Ah," I think he...
You think that he's sustained some kind of injury because he's not. You can't understand what he's saying. Okay. What about? Can you hear your mom? Okay. Where does your dad go? Do you know where? You never see your dad again until when we're at the hospital. I think that's what you said, right?
I saw him when he was on the gurney.
Is there any reason to suspect or anything that's happened in the recent weeks leading up that would have you guys be a target of some type of incident like this?
We live a straightforward, kind of almost routine life.
Whenever Jennifer smiles, it takes her a couple seconds to realize she's not exhibiting the correct behavior, and she then snaps back into her solemn stare. The two looks are so diametrically opposed to each other that it becomes glaringly obvious she's forcing one of the emotions.
What, in your opinion, would cause people to target your house to think there was a large quantity of money?
I'm not sure.
Now, you say your mom drives a Lexus.
It could be because of the aesthetics, yes.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes and he loves that baby.
Is that right?
The questions end here, and the detective leaves the room for half an hour to double-check if he needs any more information. After 15 minutes of Jennifer waiting alone, we're gifted with another performance of the startle reflex, only this time it's slightly less convincing. If investigators were certain of Jennifer's innocence, this would have been the first and last time she would have been questioned in such a manner. Police are extremely careful in how they involve victims in investigations as to not cause further unnecessary trauma. But on this particular occasion, it would come as no surprise that Jennifer's psychological well-being was of less concern. She was officially still a victim and witness, but unofficially a leading suspect. She was called back in to give another statement just 2 days later at 9 a.m. She was told the reason was to collect more details, but you'll notice that the line of questioning and the answers they attain have little to no use for anything outside of Jennifer's culpability. The actual reason for this second statement is to collect further information to use against her at a later stage. In this interview alone, they already start the process of cross-examination and start to catch her out in previous lies. Jennifer is still a witness at this moment, and the exchange is void of any direct confrontation. Yet she is still put under a modest amount of pressure, and the holes in her story start to become ever more apparent.
Take that first interview that we had, which was, hours after what had transpired, put it aside. It's almost like we've never spoken before, okay? So we're starting afresh. We're starting from new. That way you're not going to say, I think I already told him that. Don't worry about what you've already told me.
Do you, Jennifer Penn, swear or declare that the evidence that you give in this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
We're going to see if we've learned or if you've remembered anything else. And there's some questions with respect to that statement that I'm going to ask you about. Okay, but I'm going to let you start again, and let's move forward from any time in that day where you want to start. If it's the time you woke up or if it's the time that your first interaction, it's your choice.
Okay, I'm very nervous, and
Why are you nervous? Tell me about why you're nervous.
Because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Because
that day was a lot.
You're right.
And I've been scattered, and so bits and pieces are here and some pieces aren't here, and I'm just...
So, I want you to sit back in your chair, okay? Just sit back in your chair, take a deep breath, okay? Close your eyes, just follow my line, just sit back in the chair for a second, sit back, relax, as the best you can, close your eyes, and just breathe for a minute.
Right, the reason why he's doing that is because he's noticed that although she's in stress mode as such, and she's a bit panicky because, she's just gone under oath again. She's not sure if the officer believes her or not. So she's becoming anxious, but not anxious enough where she goes into a full-blown panic attack, but anxious enough where she starts to rub her hands to sort of soothe herself. That's agitation. Don does that quite a lot if you watch him.
Okay.
The most curious detail you've probably come to notice is this. It's known as a self-pacifying gesture. A person who does this is most often uncomfortable and sometimes fearful of what lies ahead. It's a coping mechanism to dissipate stress and afford self-assurance.
What I can remember is when I woke up, I had some breakfast,
She practices on the piano, studies piano history, plays games on her phone, and speaks with her friends on Facebook during the morning hours. Her mom leaves to visit her grandfather at around noon and returns at 3 p.m. to prepare dinner. Her father comes home at around 4:30 from work, and dinner is served 1 hour later. Her mother leaves for line dancing at 7, then returns at 9:30. Jennifer at this point is in bed talking with her friend on the phone, and her father is in the computer room. She then hears her mother loudly call out to her father.
What does she say?
She's calling him by his name and to come down.
Okay, so give us verbatim. What do you hear her saying?
In Vietnamese, she's like, Hanoi, xuống đây.
She's clearly aware that she has to appear mournful over the subject matter, and sensibly draws out this emotion at the correct moments. Yet what's fascinating is how she's unable to maintain this emotion when inquired over the same elements. In this very moment, she appears completely grief-stricken, but when the investigator inquires further, this supposed grief rapidly dissipates. It's extremely difficult to convincingly act out an emotion while evaluating a question. It requires two completely different parts of the brain, which is why most people can only do one of these things at a time. This is exactly what you see in the next moment, and continuously throughout this interview.
And what does that translate to?
That's my father's name, Han. Come down here.
Does she say anything else associated with that?
I can't hear clearly because, I was on the phone and the TV was on,
Sure.
but that's what I heard.
Is she yelling? Or is it normal?
It's a loud, she's not yelling, but it's a loud tone.
Okay.
She then hangs up the phone with her friend once she hears the commotion.
As I'm hanging up the phone with him, I hear footsteps going up the stairs.
Okay.
But they're heavier footsteps than what is to be expected from my parents.
Okay.
Jennifer hears unfamiliar voices, so she opens her door to investigate. She has spoken for 2 minutes up to this point without being interrupted, and once again manages to build up her emotion to correlate with a supposedly terrifying event. Yet as soon as the detective interjects with a question, we once again see this emotion dissipate.
I peered out, and there was a person in what would have been my brother's room.
And where's your brother's room located?
Just a little bit down, I could see from my doorway to his doorway.
So did you hear the tone of her voice? So 1 minute she started to get the shake. So she was taking part in the acting, right? Building the memory, building the fear, how you should feel if anything happened for real like that without knowing it. And then as soon as the detective took her brain away from that, her brain could no longer go back into that memento. And that's the same with Candice. If you watched in the first interview, as soon as the interviewer broke or Don spoke or the interviewer spoke, Candice couldn't function and finish a sentence. And that's where you see her pausing and saying, not what? I'm around. Because she couldn't quite get it out because they broke her concentration in what she was about to say.
Just a little bit down the hall.
Okay.
The first intruder then robs Jennifer at gunpoint before taking her to the ground floor, where she then sees her parents sitting next to each other.
From where I was standing, my father was sitting on the right, and my mother was sitting on the left.
Sitting where?
On a couch, on our couch.
Sitting on the couch. Are they looking out towards you?
No, their backs are towards me.
Okay. And you're now on the ground level? Are you on the floor? Or on the sitting on the
the floor. I'm sitting on the floor.
All right, where are your hands?
They had tied my hands,
So let's
as
go.
I said.
Let's go back up to the stairs. Remember we said
Her emotional display in seeing her parents in distress gradually faded after each interjection, but you'll now see it completely cease altogether once she realizes that she made her first mistake. Everything she had said up to this point correlated with her initial statement, but she had just forgot to mention that she was first tied up before being taken downstairs, and only brought it up when reminded by the detective.
take the other statement and whatever we've said before.
No, I said it earlier.
She didn't say she was tied up earlier. She completely forgot to mention it and seems to be trying to convince the detective otherwise. It's a moment of slight panic, which becomes far more pronounced when you compare it to her supposed grief-stricken recollection 5 seconds earlier. The detective detective doesn't challenge this, as it can be used against her at a much later stage, and the main objective at this point is to collect as much conflicting information as possible.
Okay, then let's get back to that area. I think you might have touched on it. We went back into the description. So where do you get your hands tied, and where does the string come from?
I'm not sure where the string comes from, but he had the string.
Okay.
And after I gave him my money, that's when he tied my hands.
She is then taken downstairs where she sees her mother being interrogated by the second assailant over the whereabouts of the cash.
This is why people keep asking the same questions over and over. So, although it sounds like exactly the same story, if you listen carefully, they will alter it slightly. So, although to everyone else, Don and Candice, yeah, they must have kept to the same story, and people go, no, can't you hear it? It's because some people are fine-tuned into Candice and Don's story and can hear the slight difference. Like this police officer will with her story. He will pick up the slight difference, and that slight difference could actually mean quite a lot for the investigation, believe it or not.
According to her first statement, the second assailant never said a word the entire time.
He had pushed her back onto the couch, and she
Who
kept...
pushed her?
Number 2.
Okay.
He was pushing her back onto the couch. And she kept saying, where's my purse? Where's my purse? And the guy kept telling her to sit down, and I didn't want my mom to get hurt.
How many times does she get up and get pushed back down?
I'd say she got up twice.
Has number 2 uttered a word at this point in time?
I can't remember hearing him.
Okay. So we're just correcting what you said earlier, because you said earlier that it was number 2 who was asking where the purse is, and now you've said now it's number 1 guy who would initially...
I'm sorry, it's just...
No. It's all a purpose. The purpose here is clarifying what you're saying. So number 1 Number 1 is the one who's doing the talking about the purse. Number 3 is focused on your dad's wallet. Okay.
Jennifer continues to make contradictions and is forced to correct herself multiple times after she notices the puzzled gaze from the detective. He inquires over the appearance of assailant number 2, who is wearing a hoodie according to the first statement.
You get a good look at number 2 now of what he's wearing?
All I could tell was he had a vest, and his face was like a long oval face.
Boom. So this is why Don and Candice didn't say they saw anybody. They were adamant they didn't see anyone. Reason being is, if they were to put a description of somebody in there, somehow, somewhere, then they would automatically have to be asked again and again about it. And they haven't got that much good memories. So they pretty much done a basic storyline, which is, I come home, planted flowers, she went missing. That way, there's no, well, what did the person look like? What did the person sound like? What did the person say? And then by the time they've got it, and then the police come and ask again. So what was the person look like? What was it again, the colour of eyes? Did you say green? They say, yeah, green. And they said, actually, you said blue. So they knew that describing an assailant or a car could actually put them in stuck if they're lying. So what they agreed to do is keep it as simple and basic. And even if, I mean, the police could look into where they were supposedly been planting flowers and see that that cactus had died in there, and it was an aloe vera plant, and it died in there and it was dead, and they hadn't touched that area, because if they did, the white petals would not still be white, right? On top of that, then weeds would have been pulled out, because they're definitely not flowers, okay? So the police would notice that, but they were on the impression that the police would not notice that and would see everything as flowers, as they're not gardeners, right? So they were depending on that fact that the police work constantly and probably didn't know nothing about the difference between garden weeds and weed and flower weed, right?
Get a vest?
No, hoodie.
Okay.
Dark hoodie.
Okay. Did you see them recover anything inside your mom and dad's room?
I did not see anything, no.
Are you sure? Because when we spoke the last time, there was some mention of some other money that went missing.
I believe
See,
when they were
now
looking
he's
for my father's
confused.
wallet, they had opened the drawer, and it was in an envelope.
What drawer would that have been in?
If you're at the doorway where I was standing on the left side.
Right, so she's not trying to figure out if they went left or right. She's trying to figure out what she told them yesterday. Because she had to put on a distraught function. Remember me telling you in my videos that your brain doesn't see. It only gets instruction from feelings, thoughts and emotions, right? Smells, sight, stuff like that. So, hearing. So what's happening here is she's more calm, and now she's calm and she's getting anxious. She now can't remember what she said because it wasn't the truth. So therefore, she's put too much details into her story. Do you remember that I said to you, most people will cover a bit of the truth with loads of lies, and that's how they get caught. But it seems that Don and Candice have learned that if you put a load of truth around one lie, you can keep up that one lie. Do you see? So that's why she's failing. That's how they catch you out. So obviously Don and Candice has been doing this for many, many years to understand that. And I didn't even understand that until I watched this video. So it makes sense, right, guys, that they would do one lie and surround it by truth. And that way, it'll be more unlikely for the detective to detect that lie. Because it all sounds plausible except for one piece. But who cares, it's one piece. The rest sounds okay. And it got the body language, didn't it? The behaviour panel got caught up in that, didn't they? Well and truly.
Bedside table.
Whose side of the bed is it?
That's my mother's side of the bed.
Okay.
More than likely a total coincidence, yet she almost appears to be praying that she gave the correct response. Fortunately for her, she was correct on this occasion.
And approximately how much money?
I'm not sure how much she took out for our trip, but I can only estimate about a few $100s.
Few hundred, because at the time, the last time you told me, you were pretty adamant about $1,100. So I'm curious to know how you came up with that number.
I believe because when we were at the border, we
What's she
stopped at the
doing
duty
there?
free. My mother was
In your
deciding whether to use
hands?
her U.S. currency or.
In your hands, you get this ache. So your nerve endings are in your feet and your hands. So sometimes when you start to stress, your pulse and your hand starts to sizzle, like almost like you've sat on it for too long or laid on it for too long. And so she's rubbing that to bring feeling back, to try and take her mind off the panic that she's trying to say, did I say it right? Did I get it right? And to keep the emotions under control, because she's concentrating her brain onto concentrate onto her hand rather than concentrating on what the detective is saying to confuse the brain for the brain to tell the truth. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the brain's sending her all the truth signals. She has to stop and make sure it doesn't come out the mouth, and make sure what comes out the mouth is a controlled lie.
For her U.S. currency or her Canadian currency.
So it was at that time you remember hearing $1,100 And that's what, is that the inference you're saying, is that, because you're pretty solid saying that it was $1,100 that went missing, that was taken, and that you saw it when we spoke. And who took it? Who took possession of the money?
I've never felt so close to the possibility.
The detective lets the contradiction slide once more. Jennifer is then brought to the moment where the intruders had just left and she is tied to the upstairs banister.
Let's come back to now. You're being taken to the banister in the upper room. Don't apologize, okay? I'm going to try and ask you questions to try and clarify points, okay? If you don't remember, you don't remember.
Say those things, but it's here, and I've already said it to the special victims yesterday, but there's like ideas in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to say it out loud. But
ideas about speculation of what happened, how it happened. Unfortunately, at times some of us have to point the finger, seem like we're pointing the finger, and it really is just to provoke you to see what you're going to do, how you're going to respond. Okay, so it's only a question, and it's been answered. And if you've been truthful, okay, you have nothing to fear, absolutely nothing. Okay.
Police kept Jennifer under close observation from this point forward. A surveillance detail was assigned to track her every movement, and she was even monitored at her mother's funeral 3 days later. According to reports, she was emotionless the majority of the time, only showing what appeared to be feigned grief at certain moments. She never shed a single tear, and kept her eyes to the floor or completely shut for the entirety of the service. Jennifer's father had in fact awoken from his induced coma the day prior, and miraculously seemed to remember everything from the night of the incident. He would give an official statement in secret on November 16th, and multiple parts of his story contradicted what Jennifer had told police. The most significant detail was that she was never tied up, but instead walking around freely and talking with the intruders as if they were friends. He actually spoke with Jennifer over the phone, but was informed by investigators to act amnesic and not to confront her, only to ask her if she thought her ex-boyfriend was behind it. She stated that she was almost certain he wasn't. The only issue with Hahn's statement was that he had suffered minor brain damage from the gunshot, which could be used by a defense team to refute his testimony in court, or even get it thrown out altogether. Furthermore, it was essentially his word against Jennifer's, and their turbulent relationship would also work greatly in the defense's favor. York Regional Police knew they needed a confession for the best possible chance at securing a conviction, so they assigned their most experienced investigator to conduct Jennifer's interrogation. She was called back into the Markham Police Station on the 22nd of November at 2:30 p.m., a week and a half after the incident took place.
So just for the record, it is the 22nd of November 2010.
So, this is what's been happening. So, what do you think? Do you think these are young adults with hardly any experience, and they already know how to trick? I would never have known about if this kind of depth of it. I would never know how to do it to trick. I would give up and tell the truth and just go, yeah, I did it. I can't help it. There's nothing else I can do because it's too much hard work by the looks of it in my eyes. I don't know about you guys, but in my eyes, it definitely looks like hard work. However, this is what I think Don and Candice are doing in this situation. And Paul Summer, this is why we need to find her. We can't let these people play games while she's lonely and needs to come home and move on. She can't move on and get into the light until she's brought home. Okay, guys?
We're at the 5 District Station in the town of Markham. My computer right now says 2:39 in the afternoon. Not everybody can be a doctor, okay? But they may have acted like you could have done it no problem. their expectations were so high that few people would be able to reach that expectation. I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about anybody. And it started at a young age.
The detective further explores the stresses of living with overly strict parents, and Jennifer explains in further details the way she would cope, which for the most part was lying about her grades and living a double life with her boyfriend.
How did it feel having to lie to them all those years?
Really felt like I wanted to tell them, but just they always looked down and disappointed me.
I'm sure there were days when you actually planned that this is the day I'm going to tell them, and then you just couldn't spit it out.
The opening strategy of the how and why solution has now been executed. A connection has been attained, and the desired narrative established. The next phase of the interrogation is about to commence, which is first set up by a two-step strategy. Step 1 is to induce fatigue. Step 2 is to induce fear.
Now, when's the last time you spoke to your dad?
This morning, just me and my brother had meetings to school.
And what have you and your father discussed about this case?
He just asked me if Daniel was behind it.
Okay.
And I told him I don't know 100%, but I don't think he did.
Okay. Why would he ask that?
Because he believes that we still talk and that he would go to anyone to be with me.
What do you think about that?
I know that he's moved on, so I don't think he would. He would go to these lengths to be with me when he's already moved on.
The detective has Jennifer go through the...
Isn't it weird how teenagers again and young adults again, that, you know, they just, instead of leaving, money is involved again. It's almost like 99% it's money, and the 1% that isn't money, it's self-gratification. It's disgusting how many selfish people are sitting in prison right now, ruining their lives and the victims' lives and the survivors' lives. It's so sad.
Entire incident once more, but unlike the first investigator, offers no reassurance nor consolation. Jennifer starts fake crying again, yet this time is given no tissues to wipe away her non-existent tears.
Now, do you think there's any reason why they tied you up and didn't tie your parents up?
This is where the detective has got her. Are you ready to see a miracle happen?
Before that night that this was going to happen. I'm going to make that easy on you. That's a true statement, right? You knew before that night that they were coming, right? Ken? It's not worth it anymore. It's hurting you.
She seems to be on the cusp of giving some form of admission, yet wants reassurance as to what it means for her own sake. She asks this question 9 times throughout this interrogation. It's one of the few things investigators can't actually lie about, as it's been used countless times in the past to get a case thrown out under misdirection. They can avoid the question, yet they can't afford any false promises with respect to sentencing.
I need to know the details. I can't even say. But I can tell you one thing is that we already know, so you can't change that. I know you did. But it got too far ahead of you, right? You didn't think this far ahead, did you? But once they started, once they came in, you couldn't stop it, could you? Could you? Jen?
Now this is what Candice is going to be like in the end. You're going to get FBI or TBI doing this and saying, come on Candice, you know full well that you were just trying to, you know, please Don, because Don didn't want no one to have Summer in CPS's care, because then you couldn't stop them giving a doctor's to get her to the doctor, they would have had the rights to do that. So come on, Candice, Don convinced you, didn't he? And then she will break. That's all they need to do, guys, so why don't they do it? That's the big question I would ask FBI. Why won't you take Candice in and break her like this is happening here?
I know. Why didn't they stop for you?
I don't know who they were.
But you were part of the planning, right? You have to tell me that part, and then we're going to work through it together. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want this, you wanted to stop it. You have to prove that to me now. Because at the end of the day, we have to stop this from happening to someone else. Right? Jen, we're going to have to deal with it one step at a time, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I need to know what you did. And then you and I are going to work through this together. Because the most important part of this whole thing is that we do the right thing for your mom. Right? I am her voice right now. I'm working for your mom. That's my job. And I have to get to the bottom of this for your mom.
Appealing to compassion isn't necessarily uncommon when the crime is first-degree murder, yet it can send a mixed message when a justification for the crime was a focus point early on. The detective takes his chance with it, which at first appears to work. Jennifer initially responds in a poignant manner, but you'll soon come to notice that her empathy, alongside her concern, is solely focused on herself.
Which is what Candice exactly does, right, guys?